No. No, it isn't. But that's not the answer that you came here for, right? You wanted the long answer. So I'm going to try and give you that in under 10 minutes. This is going to be a challenge. And I'm going to be basing this on my own experience because personally I started playing with a Squier Bullet Stratocaster and a 30-watt solid-state combo amp that you could get at Aldi. Now let's start off with the facts for a second. What does playing guitar entail? Well, really all it entails is a guitar. Even if it's electric, technically to play it, you do not need an amplifier. It's not like the second you unplug it, it stops acoustically resonating and it just doesn't work anymore, right? So really all you need is something like this. Now this is not a Squier Bullet Strat. I went a bit cheaper than this. It's pretty much the bare minimum. This is a Harley Benton Rock Series Super Strat from years ago, back when they really did not make quality guitars at all. And I got this for €80 on eBay like 2 or 3 years ago. Now it is not that great, but I still play it a surprising amount, honestly. Like, it is my beta guitar and I actually quite love it. Like, I wouldn't give this thing up at all. Yeah, but let's say just for the sake of completion, you do have an amplifier. Well then, for starters, the thing that I had would suffice completely. I remember what it's called. It was a Rocktile Scream 15 combo. Again, I looked it up once, €30 at Aldi. I bought it in a bundle with that Squier Strat. Technically, this is now all you would need to become a virtuoso. Or is it? Because, while technically, again, a guitar and an amp is all you need to play electric guitar, I am of the firm belief that while tone is nowhere near as important as talent, skill, practice, whatever, it does play an important role in your development as a player. I firmly believe that without a decent guitar tone, you're not going to get very far. Of course, the definition of what a decent guitar tone is, that differs greatly, but just keep that in mind. So eventually you're going to want to upgrade. Now, if you're like me, you go straight for the mid-range amps and you don't buy another budget thing. I had a Blackstar HT Stage 60-watt combo amp, and when I started getting into tone and just gear and stuff, I realized that that amp was a piece of shit. So I sold it and I went straight for the big leagues. This boy and this boy. And boy oh boy are these big boys. And they're loud ones too. Really, now you are set for life, honestly. I mean, one of these amps will last you forever, right? You will need maintenance, but I'll get to that later. But still, the amp itself will last you for life if you treat it right. Then later, if you've been playing for a while, I assume you've occasionally been recording yourself with your phone, just the sound of the room using your phone mic, and you've been sharing those videos to Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Or maybe you want to step up your game a little bit as far as recording goes. I can understand that. I wanted to as well. And what mic does everybody who knows nothing about microphones go for? The Shure SM57, as did I. This was my first microphone. Now, I'm not saying that because it's a bad mic or anything. This is the industry standard. Everyone uses this unless you have a very specific tone in mind that just cannot be achieved using this. It's also €99. It will not bankrupt you. That is a good thing. However, if you're trying to record, you need 5 things. You're going to need the microphone itself, an interface to plug the microphone into, a computer to plug that interface into, software on the computer that is compatible with that interface to record your signal, and some sort of speakers, preferably studio monitors that were made for that express purpose so you can actually hear what you've now made. If you're like me, and all you did before trying to get into recording was play guitar, you didn't have a laptop or a computer beforehand. So I got this. This is a Lenovo ThinkPad Station, whatever. It doesn't matter. This was the bare minimum for me. I still don't know anything about computers. But I had some criteria for what my laptop had to have, and it set me back €600. If you're just starting out with recording, chances are you know nothing about interfaces, so you do your basic beginner research and you come to pretty much the same conclusion that every recording beginner with one microphone does, which is the Focusrite Scarlett Solo. That's about, I think another €99, at least that's what I paid for it back then, because yes, that is what I used to use, and you'll see why that is not the greatest choice in just a second. For me personally, as far as monitors go, I bought the Mackie CR3s. The most notoriously terrible monitors in the industry, but I didn't know better, right? I didn't really do a lot of research as far as those go, because I bought them used, so I just kind of entered studio monitors into eBay and I hope for the best. And I got the limited edition silver ones because I didn't like green, so I paid even more. I paid €160 for both of them, and honestly for my purposes back then, those were perfectly fine because I wasn't trying to mix the music or anything and achieve the best results possible. All I wanted was some means of listening to what I had created, and they did that. Also, I wanted something that would allow me to hear the €200 Bias Effects 2 software that I was so proud of owning at the time for whatever ungodly reason. But eventually, as I started expanding this room into a home studio, I switched to these, the Cali Audio LP6s, and these are amazing. I'm fairly sure I won't feel the need to upgrade from these for quite a while now. But I may be wrong. Maybe I'll get the IN8s, maybe I'll get some Atom Audios, I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. So, congratulations, you're recording! Woo! Except this is where you start to go down a rabbit hole. Now, you may be very content as far as your recordings go, and you could always change the settings on the amp, change the microphone position in front of the speakers, change out the speakers, I don't know, get a different amp. But what you'll most likely end up doing, because it is almost always the cheapest option, unless you're getting like a Neumann TLM microphone or something like that, you will buy more microphones. For me, those were the Heil Sound PR20 and the Sennheiser E906. Those are the microphones I use for close miking this cab, and I've taken copious amounts of photos from every angle imaginable of those microphones on this cab before I took them off, because the positions these microphones were in about half an hour ago, that was a sweet spot if ever I've heard one. And while I am a bit afraid that I've now jeopardized that, I have faith that I'll find that sweet spot again. But oh no, you're using multiple mics now. Remember earlier when I said that buying a Scarlett Solo wasn't the best choice? Well, it's called the Scarlett Solo. It has one XLR input and one instrument jack input. You're fucked. You need a new interface. Remember my words, just let those echo in your head for eternity. Buy a 2i2 or something, just don't get something with one single XLR input, you will regret it. So again, if you're like me, before upgrading you waited for a summer sale on Focusrite.com and you went straight for the 18i20. 18 inputs, 20 outputs, yes daddy, sign me up. Because I wasn't going to make the same mistake twice and have to upgrade again in a year or two because I still didn't have enough microphone inputs. This, I'm pretty sure I won't be having to upgrade from for a while. Also, it is an amazing piece of hardware. I love this thing to death. So, you see now, you've spent a lot more money. Of course, this is my personal experience. Your mileage may vary, but I don't think it will vary that much because this is a pretty universal experience. The actual models of the things that you buy may differ. I know people who have bought PreSonus interfaces. I don't know why in God's name you would do that. They're not that much cheaper than Scarlett's to justify like that big gap in quality. But you know, do what you want. I made mistakes too, and I sold those mistakes again to people who are just about to make the same mistake that I did. Now you pretty much have everything that you need. But there's always the flat rates. What do I mean by flat rates? I mean strings, guitar polishes, I don't know, guitar maintenance, you know, the cost of setting up a guitar if you don't want to do that yourself because you don't want to ruin it. Video coming up on how to set up your guitar without ruining it as well. If you're using a tube amp, tube maintenance or tube replacement. If you play as much as I do, you will wear out your power tubes quicker than expected. And even if you don't need to change them, you do need to get them rebiased on a regular basis depending on how much you play. If you don't do that, you won't just fry the tubes, you will break the entire amp. And if you have an amp this expensive, you really don't want to do that. Please, for the love of God, have your amps checked up. I know so many irresponsible amp owners and it makes me angry. And finally, something that is also somewhat of a continuous purchase, cables. Now, I don't consider cables consumables in that sense because if you treat your cables right, which I didn't for the longest time, and I regret that because I've broken so many and had to buy new ones, they will last you forever. But you still have to keep buying cables because you buy more shit, you need more cables for it. These I just have on standby on the ground because I use these all the time, they're just not currently plugged in. The reason I don't show you the floor in here is because it is covered in cables. These are like, I don't know, this is 6 cables, just XLR instrument jacks. These Fender cables are my go-to just amp and guitar cables. Give me a second. This is the box of cables I don't use on a daily basis. Some of these are broken, some of these I've never been opened, but look at all these, just look at the cables. There's just, Look, patch cables. I've retired these cheap patch cables because they're no good. This one I broke. It was an expensive cable. I'm quite sad about that. Look, I'm so, cables. There's just so many, there's too many cables in here. Alright, you get the point. Now, returning to the original question here, is guitar an expensive hobby? Well, it doesn't have to be, but let's be honest, for most people, it will end up being an expensive hobby. It also depends on your relationship with the instrument, you know, do you just play guitar casually, I don't know, half an hour a day, or you're a hardcore, dedicated player who wants to eventually have a home studio? If so, then it is an expensive hobby. Music in general is one of the most expensive hobbies that you can have if you're dedicated, right after cocaine. So yeah, was there really any insight in this video? No, because I haven't really given you a straight answer. All I've said is you can buy gear or you cannot buy gear, and I feel like that was obvious. But you know, I don't make these videos for educational purposes in that sense. Who the f am I? PBS Kids? Leave me alone, get out. So, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Most recent video is somewhere up here. Subscribe button somewhere over there. Hit it if you feel like it. I have to go think about what videos to do next week. See ya!